Hey friends, it's Robert. Today on World Crafted, I am sticking closer to home as we examine the ritual of smudging as it relates to Indigenous Americans in the United States. Inspired, we'll create our own DIY cone incense to use as cleansing aromatherapy for your home or to package as a thoughtful housewarming gift. The fragrant smoke of dried plants has long been used in religious and medicinal ceremonies of cultures around the globe. Among Indigenous or Native Americans, this practice has come to be referred to as smudging. The aroma and smoke are often used to bless and cleanse people and places. The plants and herbs used in the smudging process vary a great deal from tribe to tribe and depend on their specific rituals and beliefs. Although the combinations may change, the most commonly used plants are sage, cedar, and sweetgrass. It's not uncommon for native and non-native people alike to utilize a smudge stick when moving into a new home. This stick is composed of bundled herbs, tied with twine, and hung to dry. The end of the dried smudge stick is lit, the flames are blown out, and the smoke is fanned throughout the space, clearing it of negative energy. Inspired by this practice, I want to show you how to make a very simple cone-shaped incense. Our primary ingredient is white sage, and depending on where you live, you can either dry sage harvested from your garden or purchase it from a local or online source like I did. We're going to start with a very small batch that will create 5 to 6 cones, but if you like the results, it's easy to scale the recipe to create a larger quantity. To begin, we need to grind the dried white sage into a powder, and to do this, I'm using a mortar and pestle, one of the oldest kitchen devices still in use. Place a handful of sage leaves in the mortar, avoiding the woody stems and stalks, which are a little harder to grind. Use the blunt end of the pestle and grind the dried leaves in a circular fashion until they resemble a rough powder. This will take a few minutes. Measure out 3 teaspoons of the powdered sage and place it into a small mixing bowl. The second ingredient is called Makko powder, and it's ground from the bark of the tabunoki tree. Now this serves 2 purposes in our recipe. First, it's water soluble, allowing it to act as a binding agent and helping our incense cone to retain its shape. And then second, it's a natural combustible material, meaning it's able to catch fire and burn easily. Now, I found that it was easier to source prepared Makko powder online than it was to purchase the actual bark to grind my own. Add 1 teaspoon of the Makko powder to the sage and thoroughly combine. In order to form cones, we need to add liquid to our mixture, creating a dough, and we'll be using distilled water. It's incredibly easy to add too much water when you're working in such small quantities, and I found that the best way to avoid a soupy mixture is to add the water with a dropper. The amount of liquid may vary for you depending on your climate, but adding 6 droppers of water allowed me to knead the dough into shapes that held their form. Now, you can certainly roll and pinch small amounts of the dough to create incense cones with your hands, but I wanted to find a tool or mold to help me regulate the size and shape. What I discovered that worked well are the little conical-shaped metal tips that you attach to icing bags when decorating a cake. They're easy to find online or at a baking supply store. Now, your tendency may be to create a huge incense cone, but I'm here to tell you that it will likely take forever to dry and then probably won't burn evenly. I'm measuring out a half teaspoon of my dough and pressing it into the mold. In order to get the cone to release, slip a twist tie into the tip, running it along the inside wall. Then place your incense cone on a tray or board lined with wax paper. The top of the cone will likely be a little misshapen, but you can easily use your fingers to press it back into place. Set the cones in the sun or in front of a fan on low to dry. Our 2-ingredient mixture dries pretty quickly, but allow it about 12 hours, and be certain to tip the cones over at the halfway point, allowing the undersides to dry. Now, to burn your incense cone, I recommend using a heat-resistant bowl filled with sand. Light the tip of the cone, blow out the flame, and set it in the sand. The cone will continue to gently smolder, filling your space with ribbons of fragrant smoke. A couple of quick safety precautions: never leave your burning incense unattended, and you may want to open a window or two to avoid setting off your fire alarm. I've really been taken with how easy these incense cones are to create, and with a respectful nod to the idea of smudging to clear and bless a new home, I want to show you how to easily package them as a thoughtful housewarming gift. I'm using 2 inexpensive glass spice jars with screw top lids. One I'm filling with the dried incense cones, and then the second I'll fill with matches. But first I want to create a striking surface to light the matches. Either trace the jar opening on the back side of a medium grit sandpaper and cut with scissors, or use an appropriately sized paper punch. Apply white craft glue to the underside of the sandpaper disc, and then position it on top of the lid, allowing it to dry. Include a small dish for burning the incense, and you have the perfect gift for friends and family moving into a new home or apartment. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you'll give this project a try, and if you haven't done so already, I encourage you to subscribe to Kin Community and join me next time for another world-inspired DIY.